All right. Good Monday morning, everyone. Oh my gosh, we have a lot to unpack this weekend on here for Author Talk, at least for me. So you guys are listening to Author Talk with me, Amy, Russell, and Valerie, and it's just us today because I like to just have a moment to catch up with you guys. I love you guys. You guys are like my besties. So I love catching up with you guys Monday morning. I love when it's just us. But this weekend was full of chaos, you guys. So first, I promised a hot tub update, and we're gonna give you one, okay? Because I promised it. So remember how I said that my part was coming on Tuesday? So let me tell you through this whole whirlwind of a damn thing that has happened, okay? Get some popcorn, you guys. So we ordered this part last Friday, like 2 Fridays ago. We ordered it. Was supposed to ship within 2 days. I should have had it on Tuesday. I didn't get it. I'm emailing them. They're not answering. I'm phone calling them, not getting anything. And so I'm just like, well, shit, we got scammed. Okay. So then I'm like, well, okay, that's fine. I'm going to go on eBay. I found it. I bought it. Right. You guys, I no longer hit buy and I paid for it. Then the damn thing showed up at my house. Okay. No communication, absolutely nothing. And of course, my product on email or on eBay is non-returnable. So now I'm still sitting here communicating with this person, being like, hey, look, this is currently what happened. I will pay to ship it back to you. I just don't need to. This was the whole predicament. So, anyways, there's that. And then, of course, you guys know Josh was complaining about putting it in. He's away at his oil and gas conference in San Antonio. So he's at GPA, which I just say is like a big drunken fest. But that's where he is. So I'm single parenting it. Okay. On top of all of that. And I just want my damn hot tub to work because now I've had to clean this thing 3 times and I have not even gotten to use it. And so, needless to say, that when Josh comes back on Wednesday, he's going to have to install this thing. And then I can give you a proper update of whether or not the damn thing works. But who would have thought getting a top control panel would be as complicated and non-communicative, I guess, whatever. They don't communicate with you to get it. Okay. So on top of all of that, I'm single parenting it. But other than that, I did go to my first A&M volleyball game. I did not cheer for A&M because you guys all know I'm not an A&M fan. But volleyball is just fun to me. I enjoy watching it. I think the girls enjoy watching it. So hopefully I can go to those more and cheer for the opposing team because I am petty like that. But all in all, it was a pretty eventful, fun weekend and stressful about my hot tub. But puppies and rainbows. It could be worse. I could be doing a remodel like Russell.
I
So
know
I'll
it's
take it.
awful.
I will take it
Yeah, yeah.
100%. So what all did you guys do this weekend? Valerie, did you have a drink? I hope you had one for me.
She's
I am.
probably had like 5 margaritas.
No margaritas, but I did have a lot of wine at the Platinum Wine Vault in the Woodlands.
Okay.
So that was really cool. It's with Food and Wine Week. They host this once a year. And so they pair it with some Woodlands restaurants out there, but they serve like top shelf wine that's like really, really amazing, big names, and people stand in long lines for the expensive sips. So I like that. I feel fancy when I do that. Like,
Did you
ooh,
wait
look at
in the
me.
long lines?
For some of them, yeah, because I know like if you try to go buy a bottle of it or whatever, it's quite a bit. So
Well, yes, but I'm impatient. I am perfectly
I well,
impatient.
the thing is you get your food and then while you're waiting in line, you're eating the food and then you're waiting for more wine and you're already drinking the wine you already got from the other line, and so you're just continually eating and drinking. So it kind of like, you know, it's just it's just one big thing. And then we have our high school reunion next week, and I'm co-chairing that. And so all these things, I'm like, what about somebody goes, did you do the decorations? I was like, no. Did you do this? I was like, no. I was just trying to get people signed up. I was just trying to organize the catering. I was just trying to do this, but I'm doing all the other stuff now. So trying to figure that how to get the little photo booth set up and all it's it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. I know it's gonna be great. Our class is very like chill, so whatever we do, it'll be fabulous. And then of course our garden, the basil is starting to die. So I was like just in the flurry of making all the pesto I could so I can throw it in the freezer and just not be wasteful and just because then you're like when you want and then you dry out the rest of it, whatever you don't want to make. So things like that, silly stuff that needs to be done that mm, Mm.
I get it. I get it. I've never been to my high school reunion. My first, I guess my 10-year reunion would have been during COVID, but I don't even hear from my class. So whoever does that, either I'm off their radar, which thank God, or they just are terrible at it and nobody's getting anything. But I like to think I'm like off their radar and they leave me alone, you know? So that
I
makes me
don't
happy.
see how you could be off the radar. You're such a big shot now.
Yeah.
Also, I
But I know you
know.
were like a shy, secretive person back then.
Well, I
Really?
mean,
Really?
in high school, yeah.
See,
Yeah.
Valerie, she
I
was.
find that so hard to believe.
I know
Well,
now.
I mean, you guys are right. I was just the goody two shoes. I didn't do anything. I like wasn't wild, but I mean, I had older siblings, so like I didn't go to parties. I didn't do any of those things. I was in band, and then I wasn't cooking, and then my senior year, I had enough classes, so I got out every day early because I didn't need to be there. I
So
just
she
avoided it.
disappeared herself.
Yes,
Oh,
and
I
there's
guess
obviously they
so.
can't find me, which is fair though, because I was Amy Oran, right? I went from Oran to Ravi Chandran. So it makes sense why they can't find me. And I've never been more grateful, to be honest. I can't say I
That's
would go.
interesting. You don't want to go back. You don't want to go to reunion.
No, I mean, I went to high school with a lot of like mean girls who I will go and like I will
You
go
could
in
go back and
Facebook.
see how fat they are.
I mean, I go and stalk them on Facebook, and like, I mean, we all amounted to different things. We all have amounted to different things. But I don't. You can't unsee a mean girl. Just they don't change. So I don't have a desire to
Mhm.
go back. I didn't like anybody when I was there. I like my people now. So I'm
Yeah,
okay.
my high school is very small. We had only had 97 people in our class graduate.
Okay,
And so it was also it was a Catholic school. So my dad and all his siblings
Ah,
went there.
there
that's what
And
it
it
so
was.
is.
It's a Catholic
yeah,
school.
and we all went there, and then like my even like when I sent my kids to their school, their cousins were already at that school, and so we were just like going, and so and actually there was a friend of mine, she's one of my best friends. Her grandma knew my grandma growing up in the Heights, and
Nice.
so
That's too
she and I,
much.
because we were both H last names, we were like in the same homeroom for all 4 years, and on cheer and everything together. So, but that's the kind of people, it's people, long-term relationships and things like that. It's a Houston thing, kind of.
Yeah, I think so for sure. But I don't know. It's interesting. I think I have more meaningful friendships and stuff now than I
Yeah.
did then. But again, you guys, I keep telling you guys, I'm not a big liker of people of people. You guys keep telling me I am, but I only like specific people. But Russell, what did you
Yeah.
do this weekend? How's our lovely friend Rita? How's Rita doing?
Rita's
Oh yeah.
great. As we sit here, she got to go to daycare today because uh, her mother dictated it.
Nice.
Because when she goes to daycare that night, she's much tireder and slower and less energetic the way Melinda likes her. And so when Melinda requires her to go, sometimes I'd rather her not, but that's the way it is. Uh,
Mhm.
I spent the weekend dealing with the money pit, which is the house that we're redoing, which I gave you so much hell for when you were rebuilding a house, and then I went to hell for doing it.
Karma got you bad. Is that what you're
I
telling
hate
me?
karma. So that's it. I do have a question for Valerie and her weekend story, though.
Yeah.
So, Valerie, you said you went to this wine festival. Did you write an
Mhm.
article for it? Because you write articles for a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, I did it for this particular one. I the tickets were a gift, and so I was like, "That's very nice." Somebody invited me, and I was like, "Okay, that was very nice and to go." So I'm gonna say no to nice wine and good food ever,
Well, here's
ever.
the reason I ask. Uh, so, this is talking about your experience from the other times you go to these festivals and then you write an article about it. Do you take, how do you do
Hmm.
it? Do you take notes while you're doing it? Because I know you probably don't, because you're drinking all those margaritas or glasses of wine. How do you build an article for a festival that you go to?
Well, I usually do a preview story. That's what when I work with some of these things, they want a preview, and then I will share on social media about the experience itself after the fact. And if it's something ongoing or whatever, then I will like reconnect back to my website about how they if they want to try and go
Valerie,
back
you're
to
breaking
it, and they
up.
can. Ah, yeah, so that's what I'll do. I'll usually do a preview and then, a follow-up on social. But sometimes I will do like a preview like yesterday I went to the Menil, and the Menil's had a big exhibit on Robert Rochberg um art exhibit coming. And so I will be doing a story on that event as well as social media posts, and then going back to the story so people can come and get the information to go see the exhibit and kind of what to expect.
Because I
So it's a
always,
little bit all over the place.
every time you post an article that you've written for some publication about that particular type of thing, I always read all of those. Because I mean, that's like, what's the art coming in town, or which festival what's going on at this festival, or that. I love that stuff.
There's so many. Oh my gosh. I was trying to go to the Untitled Art um, on Thursday last week. And so I ran out of time, and I really wanted to go because it was so, pumped up about all the cool things that came to the George R. Brown, but I didn't get a chance to go. So, but that's what Houston is. Houston is just full of all kinds of cool stuff.
True.
It is. We need to thank the people listening to us. We're
Mhm.
top 1% on one channel and top 10% on some of the other channels on independent book podcasts. And we're very grateful about it. We've been on the air for like 9 years, but only a couple of years on podcasts as far as the channels. And when we first started, I never could find us. Now, thanks to Amy changing some things, even I can find us. And I'm a very low tech, uh, as my wife shakes her head at me, I'm a boomer, which she means in a very derogatory way. So even I could find us. Amy, where can people find our podcast show?
Well, that's fair. But you can find it where I go is Amazon Music, Spotify, Good Pods is another one. If you're an Apple user, iTunes, Google, and an Android user, go to Google. But you can always come over and enjoy us and talk to us in the comment section. See how animated we are in our Facebook group, our YouTube channel, or any one of our social media channels. So we always like to have a good time. Me and Valerie are generally pretty animated. She's frozen right now, but we're generally pretty animated in how we
We
talk.
could hear her going to being frozen. We
Yeah,
could
we
see
could
it
hear.
happening. We could hear it.
That's the best way to describe it. We could hear that happening for sure. But, with everything that's going on in the weekend, all the different changes and stuff that are happening within the writing community. Russell, look, Valerie's unfrozen.
Yay.
I have a question. Russell, you had kind of brought up a question that you wanted to talk about. So I'm going to let you go first, then I'm going to dive in to mine. So
Okay, because I was rude about yours. Because when you
no.
said what you were wanting to talk about, I said, "Oh, yay, that
I
sounds
have a
so
plethora
interesting."
of stuff to talk about, but to be honest, you dropped this bombshell before the show, and I'm dying to know what happened. So I
Okay,
want you to go first.
I've been doing, thanks to Mickey and Amy, I've been doing quite a few podcasts over the last 10 days. And it occurred, two things occurred to me during doing all these podcasts with all these other authors. And Amy and Val know, and as you're listening, if you may have heard this before, I'm a poor team player. I don't like doing things as a group. I don't like playing as a team. And so I notice when those people I have to do things with, though I'm nice, I don't say anything, I don't even act or do any kind of facial expression to show what I'm thinking because I have a poker face. I'm not like Amy. You
Okay.
can't tell what I'm
Okay.
thinking. Anyway, there's a couple of things that comes up, and I think we should talk about them because authors come on this show. They do a lot. It takes a lot of effort to find podcast shows, to get scheduled in podcast shows, to get the help to get scheduled in podcast shows. It's a lot of effort. And
Yep.
so if you're going to be on it, you need to do it right. And there's a couple of things that I've noticed over the last 10 days that authors should think about. We've been doing this for 9 years. Uh, and I think Val has frozen again on us, Amy. I think she's dead
But at least
frozen.
it's in such a great pose. Like, if it was if I was frozen, it would be in like the most unflattering way. So at least it's like she
Okay,
looks
this is
present.
we're going to play
But can
bingo,
you hear
Val
me?
bingo
We can hear you.
freeze. We're going to play
Okay.
bingo Valerie freeze.
I
This
love that.
is your picture of Valerie. Now, when she freezes next time, that will be mine, and we'll see who wins.
Okay.
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 That's terrible.
Okay. If you're watching this at Author Talk instead of listening to it, or you can watch it, go to YouTube or our Facebook page, Author Talk, and watch the video, and you can see the different faces of Val Freeze, so you can make your own determination who wins the bingo game. But so we'll see. But there's two things. The first is the fear that authors have when a show is live and not recorded.
How is that? Better?
Oh,
Better.
yeah, but the
Okay.
second one that appeared before you went live again was mine, and that means I win because that was way
Damn
dumber
it.
than the great picture that froze for Amy. So I win bingo.
You win bingo, of course. Yeah,
Okay,
but so you were
so
talking about the protocol
so
of
authors
podcast.
are terrified about live
Mhm.
shows as opposed to recorded shows.
Yeah.
Amy, have you experienced authors being afraid to come on our show because it's live instead of recorded? Because I actually heard two authors during the last 10 days say, "But what do we do if we totally screw up and we need you to edit it?" Well, my
It,
my response would have been, "We're not editing to screw up. That's the best part of the show." But
I,
that's not what they said. What
I
have you
mean,
found?
I do have a lot of people that are nervous about it going live. I will say though, in my emails, I do always send out that we go live at 10 a.m. Central. If you can't make it live or it's outside of your comfortability zone, right, then we can, pre-record it if it's needed. But I always am like, I deter from that because I think a live show is just a better show. But they are very hesitant. I do have some that want questions ahead of time that I just deny and say it doesn't work that way.
Well,
Um,
what type of questions do you get?
and they want to ask like what kind of questions is Valerie or us going to ask, right? And like
Uh,
what's our baseline that they can better like prepare. Which on one
Mhm.
side I have a lot of respect for, and I understand wanting to be prepared and come across in the most professional manner. I
Mhm.
100% agree with that. But on the flip side, it doesn't make for a fun show. It makes for a very like non-authentic show. It doesn't really give us a what is it? Like a sense of their true personality. It's kind of leans more on like a facade side. And I really want to know like the person behind being a like the writer. So I'm always like we don't do that. If that's like
by
a
the
deal
way,
breaker, I'm sorry.
people that are listening, what Amy just said, what she really wants you to hear about, uh, remember that because that's going to lead us on to the second subject.
Hmm.
But
Mhm.
before we get to that, I have to ask you, and Valerie, you may have a response to this too. Is when have I do some podcasts where they send me the questions before
Yeah.
Mhm.
and they say, "Is
Yeah.
there anything you don't want to talk about?" I always say,
That's
uh, take your best shot.
Yeah.
Is my
Yeah, there you
response.
go. Yeah.
But I find it interesting that some places you can actually withdraw questions from a
Yeah.
book. That doesn't seem very
Mhm,
that seems to inhibit the natural flow of the conversation.
I mean, I
mhm,
think
mhm,
so. So if I'm going to be completely candid, right? I think a live show is much harder to do than an edited show because an edited show, we can make any one of us sound good, our guest and their answers sound polished and good.
mhm,
But a live show is you just have to be able to do it and you have to like just be kind of confident in who you are and the answers that you give kind of thing. So I feel like it's much
mhm,
harder to do a live show than a recorded show, but I've had people when I've gone on shows that have sent me a list of questions. And depending on my mood, it truly does sometimes depend on my mood. I can be very ruthless. I will respond and be like, look, none of these work for me. Like,
Oh,
I don't want,
really? You will
yeah,
reject all
right.
questions?
I will. And then, so, okay, that makes me sound like such a mean person. Let me justify why I do
Okay,
that.
that really sounds funny to me.
I,
Because
I
then
think
so,
it is funny.
they get that, Valerie, when they see that, they're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
they freak out. Then what are the hell are we supposed to
they
talk
Well,
about?
I
do.
mean,
Yeah,
the main thing is
they do.
they're coming to talk about their book. And so then we're going to
Yeah.
always talk about their book. We're always going to talk about your experience. And so authors, that
By the
you're
way,
sharing your story.
the
You're sharing your
audience should
story.
remember what Val just said. That's a part of the next subject we're going to talk about the
Yes.
main thing we're going to talk about, because you and I will. I disagree with that a little bit, which is a good thing because I'm a big believer in disagreement.
Well, yeah.
Mhm.
But I
And
mean,
okay,
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't mean it to be mean, but I kind of just am like, hey, I feel like these are questions that you send to everyone and you change the wording so it fits me. And like,
Mhm.
I have responded and been like, look, none of these work for me. I'm much better on the fly than giving me scripted questions. And
okay,
so
I
I
have a
respond like
question.
that.
Mhm.
I have a question for you because this just occurred to me, and what you just said, and based upon the fact that I'm in the last 10 days, I've been around so many nervous authors before interviews have started.
Yeah.
It, do you get list of questions from the authors that you're allowed to ask, or they prefer you to ask, or they suggest you to ask?
Like for the show or just in
Yeah,
general?
if the author's going to be on the show,
Hmm.
and did they send you a list of questions that you should ask them?
So I've had some send me questions and then I will respond and been like, "Oh, like this is fantastic. We'll use it if we need it." But
In
we
other
generally,
words, you
yeah.
just lie.
In other words, I'm going in other words, if we're going to be more direct, I'm just kind of like, this is great to put to the side, but we're going to do the stuff like our way and you're going to have to probably answer some uncomfortable questions, which I don't really feel like we ask like uncomfortable questions
We
though.
We
do
don't.
on
I-
occasion.
Just
We
Russell.
have, but only if they're too boring and we're having to try to stimulate the show. I mean,
Well,
the
Yeah.
best way an author can uh, not be asked questions is by being a fun, great guest.
Mhm,
If
yeah.
mhm,
it's too dull and it's too boring, sometimes Russell has to throw a little gasoline in the fire.
I mean,
mhm.
yes, yes, and then me and Valerie try to smother the fire so it goes down. So
Yeah,
yeah.
Okay,
exactly, exactly.
this is the second part of
But
what I wanted to say before we get to your subjects.
Okay.
Okay. Uh, you were talking, both of you have said things about what the author should get out of the show, or what they want to get out of the show, or what the listener wants from the author.
Yeah.
Now, I've always thought and believed and read that the most important thing for an author to do on a show is to be likable, and to have the listener say, "This is somebody I like. I might be interested in their book. I should check them out." What do you?
mhm.
First thing is, how do you respond to that?
Yeah, I don't know if they need to be likable, but they need to be informed and prepared to talk about the process and what drove them to write this story and why do we want to read it? That's, why is it so great? Why do we, if you were proud enough to produce this and publish it and take the time to why it's great. Tell us why it's great. And then, and then the short thing, just,
That, by the
connect us
way,
with your
that was
characters, connect us with
Valerie's
your,
picture in the bingo contest.
But it was a good
oh
one.
It was
no,
good.
oh
So
no, not
mine
again.
win because mine was the dumb. I got
This
the
was pretty good.
funniest one.
That was
So
good though.
so
Not
Russell
again.
wins the bingo
Damn it.
contest.
But I
Again.
so I will say though, I think to an extent you have to be likable. And the reason for that is just like sales 101, right? Like people don't buy from people that they don't like, right? They don't have some kind of connection to, or they're always being sold to. They buy from people that are
Hmm.
likable, people that resonate with them, find a common ground with them, right? So, I mean, I
Absolutely.
feel like all authors to an extent, right? You have to be like true to who you are and like what you write and all those things. Yes, 100%. But you also have to
Also,
be
Amy,
relatable.
in this yeah, in the same vein, a lot of our authors aren't comfortable doing any of that. So this is coming on here is could be like a big step for them, but it's also part of being an author. You have to talk about what you've done.
Well,
So
yeah,
they just, you know, getting over
but
that
to
fear.
but to be fair, right? Because I feel like Russell's going to mention this at some point.
I'm
But
about not to be fair about for third party. So go ahead.
I think to be fair though, right? Everybody at some point, all of us at some point have been nervous to do the show, but we still did it, right?
Oh
And
yeah,
we
sometimes I
still
get nervous before our show.
yeah, I mean sometimes depending on like how things go or like the type of guest, right? Like we have an upcoming guest in October that I'm super nervous about, but I'm also super excited about, right? So you have like those kinds of moments, but I think you can't only sell to friends and family. You have to get outside of that. And like if you rub us the wrong way, imagine how you're rubbing your readers the wrong way, right? Like that's my whole thing, which is why like you have to be likable. And the only way to get like an authentic interview is to not provide you with questions. Because if I provide you, then you can rehearse it, you can edit it, and you're going to come across however you want to come across. But like people generally want to kind of know a sense of who you are. So that's why I'm like, you have to be likable just in general as like a rule of thumb. But I'm curious about Russell. He's going to come put a fire for some reason. I'm curious what his stance is.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is another one of the events over the last 10 days. Okay.
Okay.
So I was on with multiple, I was doing a recording with multiple authors. I'm not going to be more precise because I don't want people to figure out
It's fair.
who
That's
I'm
fair.
telling the story about. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So multiple authors were taking turns doing our part. And uh, I'm second in the list. You won't know I may not be second in the show. I was second to be recorded. So
Okay.
I was waiting. And so you get a very limited amount of time uh,
Hmm.
in your part of the show, and then you move on. And you get to choose what you talk about, and it was a particular theme show. And so I was writing, they wanted me to talk about how I got, how I wrote about Maryland. Because how do I write about evil? And how do I write about awful things? And that's what they wanted to talk about. And I had to do it in a excited about it way because I theme my appearances, I try to my shtick is to be likable, to be
Mm-hmm.
interested in my subject, to be excited about what I'm writing about, right?
Right.
Because if I don't care about it, if I'm not excited, why would you be?
Well, yeah. I mean, you
True.
Okay.
can't be monotone.
So
Yeah.
the author that went on before me, during her interview, she acted extremely bored and
Oh.
and like it was completely beneath her. And then she chose to read a 600 word short story uh
What?
in that took out the big part of her interview. And that's not even what I would criticize because I've seen that done before. I've been forced to do that before. When you read one of your pieces, you read it like you care about it, you're excited about it, like it's interesting.
Hmm.
She read it like she was the most It was boring. It was the most boring thing she'd ever read. And
Oh.
it was like a Saturday Night Live skit of it.
Oh,
I
Oh,
was so studying,
no.
which don't say oh no, because it was funny. And then I had to hide that face.
Well, but me and you would find that funny,
see?
but, like, imagine listening
Yes.
to that, though, like, if you weren't watching
No.
it, you were just listening,
I
right?
would think
I
it
don't
ruined the whole show for the
Yeah.
moderator.
well,
Yeah.
yeah,
I felt like people would have left.
that's a
So
good
I'm
one.
just saying, if you're an author and you're doing podcasts or interviews or anything like that,
Yeah.
your shtick needs to be that you care about what you're doing, that you're excited about it, that you love it, and you hope they like it
Mhm.
too. Not these
Exactly.
people are beneath me and I'm bored.
Man, I wanna talk about that because I have encountered and this is a big pet peeve of mine, okay? The first one is you guys know I'm terrible with email, okay? You have to text me, and Russell has learned this, and he texts me, and I do respond even though he says I don't,
You
but
actually respond to everything these days. Mickey has trained you well.
I'm getting better. But
Mickey would like that I said something nice about
he's
him, by
trained
the
me
way.
well. Oh my gosh. But so my biggest pet peeve is no matter your publishing style, how you've published your book or you haven't, or your writing style or your accolades, it really makes me very upset and like a big pet peeve when you act like something is beneath you. Like just in
Mhm.
general, it doesn't have to be a writer, it doesn't have to be anything like that. But it really bothers me. And I, like Russell has very kindly pointed out, I don't have a poker face. So if you come on the show and it's like that, and this has happened, Russell
I
knows this has
know.
happened.
Oh,
It
it's
is
been
written
awful
all
on the show
over.
before.
It's
It's been
all
Yeah.
over
awful.
my face, and then I generally bow out. So I don't talk a whole lot during the author interviews, anyways. Like that's I leave that for Valerie and Russell. They're the authors. I'm
Sometimes
not.
children's books that you get really excited about, you love to
Yes.
talk about. Like
Yeah.
Valerie's book,
I love the donut
obviously you
tree.
always talk about it.
I
But,
love that book. That book is
but that's
fantastic. I
besides
love it.
that. Okay, I
Well,
have a and to stem off this, uh, if you've won an award and you want to mention it during your interview, that's great. But
yeah,
don't
I
mention it 7 times every time you refer to yourself,
don't
because then
yeah.
it's awful.
I just think I mean, I don't know. I don't have a poker face, so you guys always know where people stand with me
Oh,
in
there's a
general.
good freeze. That
I
would be we're in rotation. That's Amy's freeze. Amy,
That's a
that
good
freeze
one.
beats my
That
freeze.
was
So
a
far, Amy wins the bingo.
good one.
Oh my God.
Valerie, that was a good
That was a great freeze. Okay, if you're listening to this on the podcast this week, you need more than any other week to go to Author Talk on Facebook and watch this show visually or on YouTube, because
That was a
the
great
Hold on.
one.
Russell just froze. Russell just froze, pointing the finger.
the Facebook freeze is excellent this
It was good.
week. And
Valerie, it was
Valerie,
your like
don't try to deflect. You're deflecting.
No,
it
She's
was
a
but you
like
did. You
deflector.
froze, pointing the finger.
it was you were frozen in like your excited face, like your eyebrows are up and you're like all excited. It was great. It really was. It was a great
I
face.
thought when it first happened that she was acting.
It still was great. It still was great. But yeah, you always on the show, that's my biggest pet peeve. And I will begin to on the show. Man, this me today just makes me sound like I'm this huge hard ass. I'm really not. But I will if you continuously do that and like talk down to the show or like people on the show that really makes me mad. I will eventually just kind of start coming for you. Like I will start asking really tough questions that I know the answers to see what you're going to say because you're just being mean. Like
In the
I'm
last
petty.
year, we have actually had an author on the show that both was spoke down to the show and constantly reminded us of their awards. It was the most annoying show. It wasn't, and it. You know what? They ruined the show. Why come on to shows if you're going to ruin them?
Yeah.
And we
But do
were
you think
all
they
nice
know
about
that?
it.
I don't think in their mind they know they're doing it. It's just how they are.
Well, do you think that woman who read uh, her story knows that she ruined her presentation to everyone that listened to it? No, she thinks she's great, right? So
Yeah.
you're right, Val. I'm agreeing with you. They don't
Yeah,
know
I
it.
don't know.
But if you're
But
listening to this and you're an author and you want to do podcasts, you need to think about uh, don't be any of those ways. Be excited, be
mhm.
happy, be you can be proud of your awards, but don't tell us every time my name is such and such and I won this award. Don't say that 7 times. It's
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah, I think it just gives a very off-putting vibe, right? And this is like a media outlet telling you what not to do, right? But it
Mhm,
just it
mhm,
just makes it off-putting, I think, like when you're having a conversation because our show has always been very much a coffee shop conversation. We like to just come on here. We've all been friends for a long time and just have a good time and have our guests also have a good time. But we're not
mhm.
going to go sit in a coffee shop and continuously just talk about all of our accolades. And we're just not going to do that. We're going to go and it's almost like we're just going to go shoot the shit, right? We're just going to go and talk about what books are going on, what events, and oh my god, did you see this in the news? Like, different things in the writing community, maybe some conferences that might be good and kind of bounce ideas off of each other. Not sit here and,
Mhm.
being like, oh, I did that show and I can't believe I did that show and it's beneath me or I've won these many awards. Nobody likes that.
No.
Nobody likes that. Though I will say, I'm not downplaying anybody of awards that they have won or accolades that they
That's not
have.
what we're talking about.
No, they're fantastic. It's just the way that you approach that conversation and the
Mhm.
number of times in which you approach that conversation, I think is just important. But I hate to hear that. Like, it's almost like the Ferris Bueller movie, with the guy that just keeps saying Bueller, so monotone.
I
You're just
love
like, oh
that. I
man.
love that.
Well, the movie's fantastic, but I don't want to like listen to someone talk like that. It just is. But I
Yeah.
also think all of us are just more charismatic, like very animated. Like, I mean, there's times that I'm sure I'm super loud on my mic, but I'm just a loud person individually. Josh will tell you, you can hear me at
Yeah.
any point in my house. I'm just loud. So I think it's
Yeah.
also like just a charismatic
I wish we knew
Same.
how I could be heard in my house.
thing.
So nobody can
One
live in
day,
my
one day
house.
that will happen.
Nobody can live in my house.
No, because your house is still a hot mess. So we're still waiting because
Oh,
of that.
that's
They're the hot
terrible.
mess journey that
So
you're
we're gonna
on.
come have a party there when it comes. Yeah.
I'm telling you. But what is one of the, just to like wrap up the conversation, right? Because we've hit like a lot of topics and stuff. But what would you say this year, we have to do this year so far, would be what would be one of the best books that you've read this year?
Mm.
Only one.
Oh, that's tough. Well, I just finished Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid,
Yeah.
and I was so impressed by her inclusion of science and history and all of that as she developed her characters, brought the story forward. It was an amazing story, and just a wide variety of characters to support the main character. It was amazing. It was amazing. But
Nice.
and of
Russell?
course it was based in Houston for the most part because it's about astronauts and it's female astronauts set in the 70s, 80s. So
Oh,
it was a great perspective, seeing their struggle come through the the industry and then making strides and then what happened to them and for all of them and even with their co-astronauts and stuff like that and just using a lot. I learned a lot just in general, but the story
yeah.
itself was wonderful. Wonderful.
Nice. Russell, what about
Hmm.
you?
I was looking them up. Uh,
Okay.
Yes.
the two books that I have just finished is The Gods of New York, which
Oh.
is a political gossip or rumor monger book about
Ah.
Oh.
the
Mhm.
politics of New York City in the 80s.
Oh, okay.
And our president was prominent. That's when he was a big deal in New York, just New York City. And
Mhm.
it's 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 just the politics of New York, which if
That
you
sounds
love
fascinating.
politics,
Mhm.
you love, and so I loved it. And I'm also just finished a book about Julius Caesar and Cato and the war that they had between each other.
Oh
It's a
wow.
Republican Rome book. And, I read a lot about Republican Rome. So those are the two books that
Mhm.
I just finished at the same time.
Mhm.
And
And I also finished The View from Lake Como, which if since you're such a great traveler, Russell, you might would love that as well.
yeah, I would.
Nice.
Most, yeah.
Nice. Well, I would say the best book that I've read this year would be, and it's not necessarily the storyline was great. The reason that it's the best book that I read this year was because of the ending. Literally, the last two freaking chapters in this giant book that I read. But the book is called The Sacrifice, and it is by, let me pull it up, Chantal Tesser is who it is, and it's like her Lord's series. It is a very, very dark book. It's the darkest book that
Well,
I've
you
read.
love your dark stuff. You
But this
love that
is
stuff. And you've led me down that path of intellectually to learn about it, which
yeah,
thank you, by the way. I appreciate that. That's
you've
actually
touched the
cool.
surface of it. This one is the darkest book that I've read. So it did have all the trigger warnings, and it was very dark where I would have to put it down to read something kind of happy. So I'd go to my app-based novels because you guys know I love those. But I will say the ending to this book was one I did not see. And as dark of a book as it was a very poetic ending, which to me made it
That
probably my
means
top
the
book.
bad guy got killed.
No, it wasn't even like that. It just was everything, when you have a chain, you have two chains that are broken, you have all the links to these chains, and you're kind of like, when the hell are these chains gonna, cross over, or are they not going to cross over? So when they finally
Mhm.
connect and they make full circle, you're just like, holy shit, right? Your mind is just blown.
Yeah.
And that's definitely it was the highlight that I've had. The book, I told you at times it was too dark for me, and I do read a lot of dark. But it's the best book that I read because it's the only book that this far that I've read this year that I couldn't pinpoint the ending. I'm usually pretty good at it. I like to
Mhm.
challenge myself. I'm like, no, it can't be this easy. I'm usually pretty good at it, but that's the one book I couldn't. And I would like, I woke Josh up one night to tell him about the ending of my book, and
Oh, that's
he could
so
not
freaking
care.
funny.
He could not care. He was like, Amy, I don't care. Like, this is great. And then he doesn't remember, and I tell him the next day. But it's one of those that just haunts your soul that you read
That's the
it.
best part of the story. You woke Josh up. That's
I
the best
love
part of
stories
the whole
like that. I
story.
love stories like yeah.
Anyways, it's
I
a great book. It
yeah.
truly is a good book. So I do recommend it. Just it is trigger warning happy. So just word for thought on that one.
Mhm.
But you guys, oh my gosh, October is almost here. Can you guys believe that? Next thing you know, it's gonna be the end of the year. Oh my goodness. This
Yes,
year
so many
is
things
flying
coming
by.
up in October. So many.
Crazy, crazy things. And we have to start planning for Halloween and all of these things. But you guys, before we run out of time, I'm trying to avoid this evil eye that Russell likes to give me. So I'm going to wrap things up. But I know from all of us here, we hope that you all have a fantastic Monday, a great rest of your week. And until next Monday, everybody, bye for now.